It was a warm Sunday afternoon in a small town in Massachusetts on August 7th, 2016. A young woman visiting her mother laced up her running shoes for what should have been an ordinary jog, but when she didn't return home, concern quickly turned to dread. Hours later, a devastating discovery sent shockwaves through the community. A lifeless body, confirmed to be hers, shattered the peace this town had cherished for over 3 decades. What made this tragedy even more chilling? Just days earlier, another woman in a neighboring city had vanished under eerily similar circumstances. Questions were raised, and concerns were voiced by the town's residents and even the police. Were these cases connected? Was the small town safety an illusion? This is the heart-wrenching case of Vanessa Marcotte. Vanessa Teresa Marcotte was born on June 17, 1989, in Leominster, Massachusetts. She was a high-achieving student and graduated with top honors from Boston University in 2011, earning a degree in communications. After college, she worked at a Boston-based online marketing software startup called WordStream. Later, she joined Google's New York City office as an account manager. About every couple of months, Vanessa would travel to visit her mother and aunt in Princeton, a small rural town with around 4,000 residents at the time. Being an only child, her mother, Rosanna, cherished these visits and was always thrilled when Vanessa made time to see her. Vanessa was visiting her mother during one weekend where the unexpected occurred. On Sunday, August 7th, 2016, a warm and sunny afternoon, the 27-year-old left her mother's house on Brook Station Road at around 1 p.m. to go for a run. She planned to return in time to catch a commuter bus back to New York City, where she lived and worked. Vanessa was very active and loved outdoor activities like walking and yoga. The route she chose was one she knew well, so there was no reason to think anything unusual would happen. However, hours passed, and she didn't come back, which was out of character. Concerned, her mother contacted the police, and a search began immediately, focusing on the path Vanessa likely took. At 8:20 p.m., a police dog tracked her scent to a wooded area about 60 yards from the road, less than a mile from her mother's home. There, searchers found the body of a woman, who was immediately identified as Vanessa Marcotte. An initial examination of the scene left detectives certain that Vanessa's death was the result of a crime. Her body was found unclothed, with burn marks on her legs, hands, and face. The area where she was discovered was remote, with no nearby houses, just a road bordered by woods. Vanessa's cell phone and headphones were missing, and despite a thorough search of the surrounding area, police couldn't locate them. Investigators suspected the killer had taken these items to avoid leaving behind any DNA evidence. A sneaker showing signs of fire damage was found in the grass near her body, and additional burn marks were noted in other parts of the area. Detectives determined that the attacker likely used gasoline to try to eliminate any traces of DNA. Forensic analysis revealed that Vanessa had died from strangulation. Evidence showed she had fought back, leading to the discovery of DNA from an unknown person under her fingernails. The removal of her clothing pointed to a clear motive for the crime. In short, medical examiners found signs of male contact. The DNA samples were tested, but no matches were found in either local or national databases. In the small town of Princeton, home to fewer than 4,000 residents, a crime like this was unheard of, with nothing similar occurring in over 30 years. The incident shocked the entire community and drew significant national media attention. Just days earlier, a similar case had unfolded in a New York City neighborhood involving Karina Vetrano, a 30-year-old runner and fitness blogger. Authorities urged residents in Princeton and nearby areas to stay alert and report any suspicious activity to the Massachusetts State Hotline or Princeton Police Department. At a press conference on August 11th, Worcester District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. stated that the suspect was likely a man who had sustained minor cuts, bruises, and scratches during the struggle with Vanessa. Vanessa's tragic death was a devastating blow not just to her family and the people of Princeton, but also to her colleagues. A spokesperson from Google shared, "Vanessa Marcotte was a much-loved member of the Google team, working in our New York office for the last year and a half, and known for her ubiquitous smile, passion for volunteer work, and love of Boston sports. "We are deeply shocked and saddened, and our thoughts are with her family and friends." Police initially explored a potential link between Vanessa Marcotte's death and a similar case involving another runner, Karina Vetrano, just days earlier in New York City. On August 2nd, 2016, Vetrano went for a late afternoon run in Spring Creek Park, Queens, just a short distance from her home. Despite her father's concerns, she decided to run alone. She was last seen alive at around 5 p.m., shortly before entering the park. When repeated calls and messages went unanswered, her father alerted a neighbor who was an NYPD police chief, and a search was launched. By 11 p.m., her father discovered her body lying face down about 15 feet off the trail. Like Vanessa, Karina's body was found unclothed, and her cause of death was also determined to be strangulation. Despite these similarities, investigators did not believe the cases were connected. 6 months later, police arrested 20-year-old Brooklyn resident Chanel Lewis after his DNA matched evidence found on Karina's body. However, his DNA did not match the samples from Vanessa's case. On April 23, 2019, Lewis was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But who was responsible for Vanessa's death? Investigators concluded that the person who killed Vanessa likely lived in or was familiar with Princeton and knew the area well. They also believed that Vanessa did not know her attacker and that their encounter was purely by chance. In the meantime, authorities reached out to the public once again, setting up separate 24-hour hotlines for tips. Eventually, an eyewitness came forward, saying they had seen Vanessa stop at a local convenience store for a drink of water shortly after 1 p.m. on August 7th. The last time she was seen, she was walking and talking on her cell phone. Investigators believed the attack happened within 2 hours of her being seen outside the store. Her phone was turned off at 2:11 p.m. and had not been powered on since. Despite receiving and investigating numerous tips and searching the area around the body multiple times, no new leads were found. It wasn't until 3 months later that the police finally received more information about the case. A new witness came forward, stating that on August 7th, he had twice seen a dark-colored Ford SUV parked near the spot where Vanessa's body was found, with the hood raised. The driver, described as a man between 25 and 35 years old and likely Hispanic, was outside the vehicle. The first time the witness passed the SUV was around 12:45 p.m. when the driver was standing by the car talking on the phone. The second time the witness passed by, at about 2:05 p.m., the SUV was still in the same spot, but the hood was down and there was no one around or inside the vehicle. Authorities began searching for a Hispanic man who owned a black SUV and was believed to live near Princeton. On February 23, 2017, more than 6 months after Vanessa's death, Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. revealed that the DNA found on Vanessa's body had been sent to a lab, where a profile had been created. Based on the DNA evidence and witness accounts, authorities believed the suspect to be a Hispanic male between 20 and 30 years old with an athletic build, medium height, and short or shaved hair. It was also thought that the suspect either owned or had access to a dark-colored SUV on the day of the crime and likely had visible injuries to his upper body in the days following the attack. About 3 weeks later, a police officer patrolling Worcester County spotted a man who fit the description of the suspect. This man was driving a vehicle that resembled the one seen near the scene of Vanessa Marcotte's death. The officer quickly noted the license plate number on his hand. After identifying the car's owner, the police team visited his home. The man was identified as 31-year-old Angelo Ortiz. Angelo Ortiz, a Puerto Rican native with no criminal record, was married with 3 children and had lived in Worcester for less than a year. He worked for a third-party contractor for FedEx, making deliveries in and around the town of Princeton, which he was familiar with. His neighbors in Worcester described him as inappropriate, noting that he often made vulgar remarks to people in the area. A former female postal worker from Princeton also reported that Angelo would make crude comments in Spanish about her and other women to his co-worker. When police questioned him about Vanessa Marcotte, he claimed not to know her, and further stated that he couldn't remember if he had been in Princeton on the day of her attack. He was asked to provide a DNA sample, which he agreed to, signing the necessary documents. It took some time for the lab to process the test, but when the results came back, they confirmed that Angelo's DNA matched the one found under Vanessa Marcotte's fingernails. On April 15, 2017, Ortiz was arrested. and he was officially charged 3 days later. Prosecutors claimed that on the day of the crime, Colon purchased $5 worth of gasoline from a store located 6 miles from the crime scene at 2:35 p.m. This meant that by that time, Vanessa was already dead, and the suspect had returned to the area in an attempt to destroy the evidence, specifically his DNA on her body. The district attorney emphasized that the DNA evidence was collected following the correct procedures, which led to the charges. However, Angelo's defense attorneys argued that their client's DNA sample had been taken improperly. The defense argued that a language barrier prevented their client from fully understanding that he was not required to give the police a DNA sample. Angelo claimed he didn't realize he could have refused to provide one. In a statement supporting the motion to suppress, Angelo explained that although he is a US citizen, he was born in Puerto Rico and did not speak, read, or understand English. The trial lasted for several years, but on January 11, 2022, the judge ruled against the defense's motion to suppress the DNA evidence. Angelo did not plead guilty to first-degree murder, but as part of a plea deal, he admitted to second-degree murder, which carried a lighter sentence. He also pleaded guilty to a robbery charge, resulting in a 20-year prison sentence. Prosecutors stated that Marcotte's family agreed to the plea deal in order to avoid a lengthy and harsh trial. "We are thankful and pleased that the trial ended the way we always wanted it to. That this man will now be in a place where he cannot hurt anyone the way he hurt Vanessa," the Marcotte family said in a statement released by the district attorney's office. 36-year-old Angelo Ortiz was sentenced to life in prison in October 2022. He will serve 20 years for the robbery charge, followed by a life sentence with a minimum of 25 years before being eligible for parole. This means he will spend at least 45 years in prison before he can be considered for parole. What happened to Vanessa is heartbreaking, and it's unimaginable what she went through when she encountered such a cold-hearted individual. As we reflect on this tragic story, our hearts go out to the victim, whose life was taken too soon, and to the family and friends she left behind. If you found this video compelling, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos. Thank you for watching.